Hi, I've got a lot to go through. So first, let me give you a quick overview of what we're going to talk about here. We're going to talk first about the economic crisis that has begun. We're going to talk about being careful with your cash and your stock holdings. We're going to talk about the Federal Reserve's balance sheet shooting straight up. We're going to talk about fake news and how to avoid it. And then we're going to talk about, there's a dollar shortage. Well, where do you keep your dollars? We're going to compare DAI to Coinbase dollars. Coinbase is coin, USDC. Bank versus keeping dollars at Bank of America. Or what about a not too big to fail bank in the US? We're going to also look at decentralized finance on Ethereum. What's going on with the crash? How is the system holding up? These dollar tokens. Okay, wait. Didn't I say I was already talking? Okay, so we're going to move this to here. Okay, that's that topic. I'm going to talk about Stellar a little bit. I know a lot of you met me through back when Stellar was the only launched decentralized platform. Having some problems now. We're going to talk about it. Kyber. Look at the volume growth they've had. This is all time. But it's come down. Valuation on Kyber. I've been talking about it recently. I like it. It's interesting. We'll go over it. Zcash. Price came down quite a bit. And I like it. Tell you why. And then Bitcoin coming on to Ethereum. Bitcoin will be an app on Ethereum. A lot happening there. We'll talk about that. And then finally, I bought a generator. Yeah, it's come to that. So stay tuned. Now, I think it was my father said, he looked at my video and said, or maybe it was a friend, said, 30 minutes? Who's got time? Now, granted, you probably sit and listen to fake news for 3 hours a day or read all these fake news rags. I've been ahead on these things. I'm a knowledgeable person, more knowledgeable. It's not about, is it the New York Times? Is it the Wall Street Journal? It's who wrote that article and what are they an expert at, right? So if this is quality information, well, this is, and my video is too long for you to listen to, so you save it on YouTube and you come back later, right? So we're going to start here. Do you see this? This is jobless claims. And, it reminds me of just with this, when this bug was spreading. And I was watching it in January and February, and there was a lot of talk about, is it just the flu? And I saw all these crazy things. I'm going, this is not just a flu. Look at this chart. This is not just, a buy the dip adjustment. This is not just a small change in the economy. This is jobless claims just blew out of the water by an order of magnitude we can barely even fathom at this point. This is not just to fucking buy the dip, and we're already down 30%, but also, this shit is big. I don't think 30%. Look at this. This is just unemployment, and there's so many more numbers, but it's all off the fucking charts. So let's look at that, because this is where a lot of people make this math error. And I used to make it as well. So let's say you invested $1,000. And now the market's down 30%, you have 700. And then you look at these long-term charts and you say, when there's usually a recession, remember, recession is usually referred to as, 2 quarters where the economy goes down a little. Yeah, it goes down 1 or 2% for a couple quarters. This economy's down like 20, 30%. And we just getting started. So if recessions usually see stocks go down 50% or more, so we're at 30%, and here's where people make a mistake. You say, hey, I'm down 30%, and hey, maybe it's the bottom, I don't know, but it goes down. If it goes down 50%, it's only another 20 more percent. No, it's not. It's actually another 30%, okay? Because to go from 700 to 500, we're measuring from the number 1,000. So if we go down another, bring it to 50% is another 200. A drop of 200 from 700 means we're coming down another 30%. But if you look at charts, and we know if you're following me from crypto, we know what it feels like to go down 70, 80%, been there, done that. And I'm 50, I've done it a number of times. So 70%, when we're looking at fucking crazy numbers like this, that's not out of the question. So now you're down 50%. Well, we're going to go down to 70%. It's down another 20%. No. From there, we drop 30. Then we drop another 40 to get to 70% off. What if we get to 80% off? Another 10% from there? No, that's 35% down more. That's why your portfolio looks like shit but when these things hit bottom. So, and one lesson I know I've learned in the past is when this is clear. You know, when it was the internet bubble, I remember one thing, you know, it's hard to know. Like, how do you know that whether it's just a blip or whether it's the beginning of a crash? And one thing I remember from my past experiences is that everything changes, or everything has changed. When it was the internet bubble, everybody was doing their thing with marketing and all this, and then all of a sudden, nobody could get money anymore, and there was no more pursuing marketing. Like, the business landscape and weeks changed. The housing bubble, people were borrowing, and they're buying, doing, all of a sudden, there's no more buying. Things have changed. Let me ask you a question. Market's down 30%. Have things changed in your life? This shit's for real. It ain't over. Now, Federal Reserve is responding. I want to go over this. I've talked about this other times. The Federal Reserve, and this is, you know, we say they print money. There's not much paper money, right? They're not actually printing. And what they're really not even creating money, they're creating credit, which allows other people to create money, but it's a loan. Let me try to break it down simply so that you can see what this means right here and where we're going. And this, one of the best indicators of stock and crypto prices, is the Fed's printing machine. And, you know, so now in 2008, so we had the Federal Reserve. Let me back it up just a little bit. And for those of you who have heard this speech from me before, sorry to bore you, but the base layer of the financial system is very important. And this is how it works. Step one. This government creates a bond, a loan, and they give that to the Federal Reserve, the central bank. And the central bank, in exchange, gives the government Federal Reserve notes that they use, which is cash. The central bank takes these government bonds and says, these are the base layer asset. This is the riskless asset. And everything is built on top of that. So right now, we've seen U.S. Treasury market, it's broken. The Fed has to rescue it. The base layer has a problem. But let's stick to the point here. So originally, the original story and the way the central bank works, back here, before 2008, they had under $1 trillion on their balance sheet, and it was probably all long-term government bonds. That's it. That's how the system was built, but it broke in 2008. I mean, we could say it broke in 1968, you could say 72, you could say the 70s. There was things, but the shit really broke a lot more, and it's breaking even further now. But anyways, the Fed, when we say they print money, they just create money, they create credit out of thin air. They just say, okay, because remember I said the government creates a loan, and the Fed just creates Federal Reserve notes. That they just create out of thin air. So, all the banks were bankrupt in 2008. So they created a bunch of money out of thin air and bought the junk from the banks. And then the bank said, oh, look, we're fine now. We have plenty of money. then all the way up until 2019. They kept adding and growing. But let's look at the numbers. The point is here. The point I want to get at is we can predict what the Fed is doing, where their balance sheet is going, and this is the most important indicator to determine where stock prices are going. So, in 2008, the Fed took its balance sheet, let's just call it from 1 trillion, and they went to 2. And, you can narrow this down if you want to play with it yourself. And you can see here, from about, let's say, September 10 to November 12, 2 to 3 months, they doubled the size of the balance sheet. From 1 to 2. Okay? Then, over a period of years, they doubled it again from 2 to 4. Now, this is where they had dreams. The original thing, keep in mind, whenever the Fed creates money, they say, we're not really printing money. We're creating credit, and then we're going to take it back. We're going to take it out of the system. Right? Like these treasury bonds would expire, or they can buy them back. They tried to reduce the size of the balance sheet, and everything almost fell apart. This low, so this is the pattern was doubled and then long-term doubled again. And if we look at the last few weeks here, and I did a little back of the envelope on the pace they're going, it looks like they're on pace again, just like in 2008, to double the size of their balance sheet in about 2 months. So, if that worked in 2008, is it going to work this time? Remember, the market bottomed. So then, what happened in 2008, I think here, they doubled the balance sheet. They printed all the money. Then they said, we're just printing it because we need to save everybody. Once everybody's saved, we'll take the money out. They started trying to take the money out, and everything fell apart. And then they printed again, and they told everyone, don't worry, we're not taking the money out. And the market bottomed in March. So, bottom line is, we're going to at least get to 8 trillion on the Fed's balance sheet before we can even begin imagining that this market can stabilize. But let's be real. 2008, it was just the mortgage market. Well, this time, it's the mortgage market, possibly worse. How many people are not paying rent at all right now? But it's also every other market, every industry. It's oil, it's airlines, it's pension funds. Boeing, what a great company. But they got this fucking pension fund that guarantees 7% a year. They're fucked. Needs a bailout. The government is printing money faster than they can say, fuck you. Where's all that gonna come from? I mean, the bailouts are, this is bigger than 2008. So 8 trillion ain't gonna cut it. So, and the Federal Reserve, remember, is always in denial because their basic story that they sell is that they don't need to do this. This is only in black swan events. So keep in mind, coronavirus is not a black swan. It's a white swan. Some have said it's a gray rhino. Ask Bill Gates what color swan it is. He thinks it's a fluorescent swan. Because he saw this coming. Listen to Bill Gates talk in his TED Talk in 2014 about what we need to worry about with the virus. Fucking nailed it. And by the way, I just saw Bill Gates is building factories now to create vaccines because he doesn't even know which type of vaccine it'll be, but he's got 7 different factories, so one of them will be ready for it. Does Elizabeth Warren still want to take all his money? I wonder. So, the Federal Reserve, they're not planning. This is not their plan. They're scrambling. They don't know shit. Guess what? All the institutions that we've always said, they don't seem to be doing a good job. Well, proof is anyways, the Federal Reserve doesn't know what's going on. They put out fires. So, what we can expect is more fires that the Fed keeps putting out fires is they print a bunch of money and give it to them. Right? I mean, what's the quickest way to make $100 billion? Become a hedge fund and lose $100 billion and the Fed will bail you out. I just made that joke up on the fly. I mean, that's how we roll here. So, I don't know. If you have more questions about this Federal Reserve balance sheet, let me know. It's important. I look at the numbers. The new numbers come out every Friday. It's my favorite chart to watch. Fake news. What is it? Why do I call it fake? It's just because it's wrong. It's not. There's some people trying to like do stupid stuff, but mostly it's just these people. They don't know what they're talking about. They're not experts. Look at most of the people talking about writers, and I don't care. Wall Street Journal, New York Times, you name it. Like they're writers. And nothing against being a writer, but doesn't just because you're a good writer and, clear and entertaining and whatever makes you a good writer, it doesn't mean you know what's going on with COVID-19. Doesn't mean you have good sources. So anyways, and the other point I want to make, because I'm sick of hearing the goddamn people with the red team, blue team reality show bullshit is over. Okay, I don't want to hear it. That is, what I'm referring to is people who say, well, Trump did this, Trump did that, Trump did... First of all, anyone with a brain knows Trump is an idiot. We got it. We're past that. Stop sending links to like Trump. You have proof that Trump was wrong. Good for you. Right? But that doesn't mean Biden's good. It doesn't mean any Democrats or the New York Times have been helpful in this process. So what I'm looking for are experts. Who can we follow? Who's fucking smart? And that's where we want to get our news. This clip I have here is just a collection of a bunch of news organizations that had articles about how it's just the flu. We got AP, Time Magazine, Fox, I don't know, National Post, Science, CCN, I don't know what the hell these things are. But the point is, this stuff was everywhere. This one, CNN, Wired. It's just the writers, and if you go and you look at it, the writer, it's like, oh, so-and-so is a writer, and they've been a freelancer, and they wrote a lot about cooking, and now they wrote this article. Really? You know why I know what's going on? Twitter, baby. I'll get to it, because I'm going to talk to you about how to stay away from this fake news, and Facebook's done. Facebook's been captured. I posted here, because I was talking about this fucking masks thing. I mean, the reason masks is such a great story is because it's so obvious. Like, I have a 5 and 7-year-old. They're so cute. I think if I explain to them, like, you have a respiratory, it's like in your lungs, and we call it the new sickness. If the new sickness is in your lungs, do you think putting something over your face will help? If everybody wore that, like there would be less transmission? What do you think? And, oh, Dave, this isn't science. You're not being scientific. Sometimes you gotta just use your fucking brain, and I don't need a double-blind test to tell me that masks fucking help. And also, this is Facebook said it was trying to fact check me, told me my article is wrong. And not my article, my post. I can't even pull up the fucking image. Oh, see photo. Okay. Countries, right? Okay, I don't know. So Korea, Japan. I lived in Japan for a year. I have a friend. I talked to him. I'm like, dude, what's up with Japan? No quarantine. No, they haven't locked everything down. They're doing pretty good. He's like, well, everybody wears masks anyways during flu season. Now they're really wearing it. They always wash their hands when they come home, and they take off their shoes. I don't know. It seems to be working. Plus, they're clean anyways. Now, is that conclusive evidence that masks are going to save the world? No, and that's not my fucking point. In fact, my point was simply that the U.S. Surgeon General telling people specifically to not wear masks, that's not just wrong. That's like scary shit. The guy, and people debating, oh, was he just lying because he's trying to save supply? Or was he just that stupid? And then, which one is it? Who cares? He's incompetent. That is a fact, right? He said don't wear masks. The Surgeon General. So he's clearly not qualified. Just fire him. Like, what is the debate? Anyways, but Facebook, telling me, and I read the article that they link why my image, because this image of no mask versus masks is not conclusive evidence. Japan is doing several things, not just masks. Yeah, I know that, Facebook. And that wasn't even what my post is about. My post was about, this is my post about why I shouldn't have had that. My post was, the media and government officials will start telling you to wear masks in 2 weeks. I said this on the 28th. They did it yesterday. Okay, it was 1 week. I said the government will capitulate on their bad advice, and I was right. For that, Facebook flags me as false information. Not only is my information correct, my post was prescient. In fact, somebody else on Twitter was debating this stuff, about, the CDC. People were saying CDC is going to change its opinion. CDC, all these posts about CDC is going to change what they're saying about masks. And the CDC started posting, we're not going to change what we're saying about masks. And somebody was like, well, why did they post that? Because they're going to change. And I posted to him, like, the CDC, and the reason I said the government officials will start telling you to wear masks, I didn't say this because I have inside information and I know what they're going to say or what they plan to say. I know it because I know the truth and I see the pressure building and they're going to have to capitulate because they know they're wrong. So instead of flagging me, Facebook should be putting me in front of people's faces because I know what's going on, but I'm done with Facebook. I have no hope. Twitter, baby. And I think you should follow me. Because I've been nailing some shit. And it's not just this. You heard me talking about, I was standing up for Tesla when everyone wanted them to go down, and I was right. Bitcoin, bought it at 350, sold it at 8,000 for USD a couple months ago. I don't know. Bought sextoy.com for $70. Whatever. Warren Buffett has a saying, when the tide goes out, we will see who's swimming naked. Okay? Now, I would also like to add to that, be aware, you may not know, but when the tide goes out really, really far, you know what that usually means? A tsunami's coming back. So instead of cavorting around with naked people on Fox News and MSNBC, run for high ground. Swinger party's over, my friends. Charlie Munger says, show me the incentive and I will tell you the result. Journalists, these writers, their incentive is clicks and virality. And they have no accountability on the truth. When they're wrong, remember the Iran thing for 2 days? It's like, World War III with Iran. Like, they all ran with that shit. And 3 days later it was wrong. And the next day they're like, oh, how about a new impeachment? Like, there's no accountability. So that's their incentive plan. I'll show you the results. Fake news. Now, as an investor, as somebody who has my future all in me putting my money in the right place, my incentive is seeking the truth. So this is why, show me the incentive. My incentive is to be right. That's how I make money. I have learned, like, the best way to make money is to know, it's not to predict what's happening. It's to know what's going on right now and realize that nobody else knows it's going on, and then put your money on that, and eventually people realize what's already happening. I've differentiated between what I think is going to happen, what I hope is going to happen, and I bump into things like this. I'm like, this is a fucking pandemic. That's a real problem. And other people are saying, it's just the flu. Okay, well, that's gonna... And I saw the shutdown, China shut down, and I saw what happened to the economy there. And they showed, like, there's no more pollution. And oil usage dropped. So this is what's happening. I'm not predicting it. It's happening. Okay. So anyways. Now, what I do on Twitter, okay, And I finally have the balls to say, you know, I'm an expert. Follow me too. I only follow 77 people. A lot of these people never tweet. Follow who I follow. If you're in crypto, you'll love my list. If you're not in crypto, you know, if you really want just a pure health, I've made a special list for people, like 10 people to just, that so it's not too crypto. But I don't know. Get a separate account where you only follow. This is all I read, is what these people post and what they tell me to read. So, you know, I don't know. So this person recommended this, the Bill Gates. I'll listen to this video. It's only a minute, but here's something here. Let's see. So I go through. I mean, I read everything, but so here's a this guy. Well, see, now he's off topic. I don't know that I would read here. I would still read it. This is Amin. I love him, but he's an ETH developer. You know, always pay attention. Someone may be an expert at developing on Ethereum. Doesn't mean he's a health expert. So some of these people too, I know what they know, right? I know where their field of competence is. Anyways, I find good things to read and I keep track of them in a spreadsheet here. And I've shared this before. I'll put the link in this video. If you want to go to my page here, this is my reading list. Like when I sit down, I'll read. So you may see a lot of things on this list, and sometimes I'll sit down for 2 hours and read, and this list becomes empty. So I'm not saving it for you, but this is my real-time reading list that is updated daily. So if you're looking for an article, if you save this link, you find things you can read. It's pretty good non-fake news. It's all vetted, quality, up-to-date information. So the dollar shortage is the story now. Now, I do believe there'll be a day when we want to get out of the dollar ASAP. I don't know when that is, but right now, there's a dollar shortage. So, I don't want to get into the why, but people need dollars right now, right? Look at yourself. Do you want more? Yeah, probably. So, now, let's say you have dollars. Where do you put them? I've always talked about I'm afraid of the government stealing my money. And listen, they usually don't. But sometimes, throughout history, that's what happens. Is this one of these? Is this it? Is this the time when there's going to be, you know, everybody's hands? We're playing musical chairs. There's not enough seats. That's how the financial system works. There's not enough chairs. And when the music stops, not only do you have to grab a chair, you know, a lot of people are getting wristbands and they're already in the fucking chair. Okay? So anyways, where do you put your money? Where do you put your dollars? I see 5 different places. Dollar peg token DAI, Coinbase, which is a different type of bank, right? It's not like Bank of America would be your too big to fail US bank dollars. You can also hold dollars at Coinbase, which is not a too big to fail bank, but I'm going to talk about why I trust Coinbase. Coinbase and Bank of America are very different, but I trust Coinbase. We'll talk about it. And then USDC is Coinbase's token, which is backed by US dollars. And then we've got not too big to fail banks. Where do you want to have your money? This is what I'm doing. First of all, for your regular US money that you plan on spending, and most of your dollars are probably should be in a too big to fail bank, like Bank of America, Wells Fargo, JP Morgan. JP Morgan scares me with its black hole of derivatives, but whatever, maybe you want one account. Who knows? I don't know how it goes down, right? If it comes to there's not enough money and we got to decide who gets what here, and the government, you know what I mean? What I think ends up happening in sort of a, oh, holy shit, the whole system's coming down situation, they say, sorry, we're going to close the banks for a week. Don't worry about it. You'll get all your money back. Then when it reopens, you'll either get less or it'll be devalued or something. Your pockets will get, your pencils will be sharpened. So, when it's closed, that's when you really want access to dollars, right? So I like to, first of all, spread my money around. I'd have a couple too big to fail banks. Because also, I don't believe in this FDIC. Like I said, when they open it up, it's devalued. But they might say, you can take out $100 a day. Well, if you have 2 banks, you can get $200 a day, right? Coinbase, now that's a bank, but they actually, it's a full reserve bank. I do not believe that Coinbase is a fractional reserve bank. 10 years from now, I don't trust them and they probably become one. But today, I think it's not fractional reserve. And the same with USDC, their dollar bank token, fully backed by dollars. Bank of America is backed by the Federal Reserve saying, I'll print new money for you tomorrow. Like, right? They'll do that. They don't... Central Bank ain't gonna let Bank of America go down because that's the final capitulation, right? It's over. That's not gonna happen. Coinbase maybe they don't print for them, but Coinbase actually has money, and you idiots out there not holding your own tokens, right? You got Bitcoin. Oh, I got Bitcoin. I got Ethereum, but actually it's on Coinbase, which means Coinbase has your Bitcoin and your Ethereum. Well, I don't mind holding dollars at Coinbase because they have your Bitcoin and your Ethereum. And keep in mind, if banks close for a week, when they reopen, Bitcoin and Ethereum will be higher. Right? Because when that's going to be the meme of the week, right? Banks are closed. Bitcoin, Ethereum ain't closed. So, anyways, listen, this is sort of end of the world preparation shit. But right now, I don't know. Listen, you know why I'm doing well today? Because I've always been... my thing is, like, I'm not always going to be the fastest going up in front. But my floor is solid. I ain't going down too far. So when everything's crashing, I usually outperform. Now, what is also interesting is DAI and the dollar peg tokens. And because I've been watching this shit closely, and it's really interesting. So when March 12th was Black Thursday. Now, they don't talk about it that much in the mainstream media because in the legacy financial system, the U.S. Treasury, 30-year Treasury bond, was going to fail miserably, but the Fed stepped in and bought it all. So, whatever, the market was down 6-7%, but whatever, just another shitty day in March, right? Well, it was a real shitty, and crypto, man, where things were crazy. DAI actually had money stolen from it. The MakerDAO did. It was insanity. I'm not going to go through the whole story. You can read about it, but whatever. Bottom line is, watching dollar peg tokens, a lot of the tokens started to lose their peg. However, and this is ironic, so let's just look at the different ones here. Okay, so Tether was... so here's a dollar. Tether is always over $1. So Tether is a dollar peg token backed by dollars, but not fully backed. It's like not regulated and not really backed. But people trust it more than real dollars. I think the reason is because the people using Tether are like in Asia and foreign countries, and they can't get real dollars. So this is better, and there's so much demand that it actually trends over $1. I wouldn't hold Tether. I never have. Not into it, but it's the facts don't lie here. It seems safe at this point, even though it's not backed. But things don't have to be backed. Remember, the US dollar itself is not backed by anything except for a bunch of bullshit. Now, Coinbase's dollar coin. What is this link? I don't know what we're looking at here. Let me... Let's look at it this way. USD coin. And I guess we can look at a month. So now you can see US dollar coin, first of all, in the panic. So March. Okay, so, well, this is funny. On the 12th, actually, everybody ran. It went really high. But after that, and people just had general concern about the banking system, it was losing its peg, right? That means people are worried that Coinbase won't have the dollars to back it. But this didn't happen with Tether, which we know doesn't have the dollars to back it, right? I mean, they have some dollars, but it's not fully backed like Coinbase is, but people are losing faith in Coinbase. Maybe there's other reasons, but Coinbase has trouble maintaining its dollar. It's fine, like I said, I think, in general, but people's trust is sort of sketchy. But I like USD coin as a maybe, as just if you want diversification in these dollar-pegged assets. Binance has a dollar peg token. It also, I think, was not holding the peg very well. I like Binance. I trust CZ, but where are we here? Where's a dollar? So that's a dollar. You know, but again, losing its peg. I wouldn't own any BUSD at this point. I don't see any need for it. I think if you want to play that game, you go to Coinbase, which is much more first in line. Remember, it's musical chairs, and some people have wristbands. Who's in line? Or it's like getting into a Hollywood club. And if you want an expert on that, I used to be a moron 10 years ago, and I used to march into those clubs like I was the king from I don't know what. Anyways, when it comes to getting your dollars, you know, they're giving out wristbands. Binance is further in line than USD Coin. You know, Coinbase, fully regulated in New York. Binance is like, yeah, we let you have fun, but if we need to steal from you, we will. Now, this is interesting, is DAI, dollar peg token, constantly above. You know what? Well, this is wrong. So they're showing it below. So that's the other thing, is some of these numbers I'm looking at, but I've been watching. I know Coinbase and, you know, it was not holding its peg, and I know DAI is. Let me show you a better chart that actually, whoops, that actually has real numbers. This, and you can see I got URLs up here if you want to search for yourself. So this is just this week. Look at, we actually finally hit $1 because I have, it's a long story, but I've been wanting more DAI, but I don't want to pay for it when it's expensive. You can look at here's a longer term. During the March 12, so this is 311. So this was the March 12th. I mean, the price just shot up, but look at, still never coming down. I mean, there's moments below $1, but almost all the volume above $1. So this got me thinking, I'm like, well, why? So DAI is a much smaller token than these others. Let's go back to this. You know, let's look at, you know, volume, right? DAI, 12 million here. I don't know if this is accurate, either of these volume numbers. A lot of DAI is traded on decentralized exchanges and maybe Uniswap, and a lot of that stuff is not tracked here. So I don't know, but I do agree that DAI is much smaller. Tether's definitely the biggest by far. USD Coin, I think the ranking is right here, and possibly the order of magnitude. I mean, multi-collateral DAI might be a little bigger. Who knows? Bottom line is, I'm thinking multi-collateral DAI, and okay, let me explain what DAI is, right? DAI is not a dollar peg token backed by dollars. It is a dollar peg token backed by Ethereum. But whereas USDC, the Coinbase token, is backed, one token equals $1, and they have $1 to back the one token. DAI has $1 in DAI token backed by $1.50 in Ethereum. And it's all these different contracts, and and most people, so if it goes below 150, it gets liquidated, so that you never lose that. It's never over collateralized. And most people don't want to get liquidated, so there's actually usually three, I mean, I'm interested actually. I wonder what it's at right now, but usually it's over collateralized by 300%. Does this show it? Multi-collateral, no. Alright, what do we want to find here? Maker DAO. No. It's like Maker Tools or something. Ugh. One more try. MKR Tools. Oh, here we go. So let's look at our collateralization ratio. Okay. So, where are we? What are we looking at here? System collateralization ratio. I think that's what we want. Okay. So, this is the percent that $1 is over collateralized by Ethereum. So right now, is this the end here? No. Okay, let me scroll you over. Let's do, oops. YMI. Okay. Well, that's good enough, right? Wait a second. I don't know why this goes on and on here. I'm going to make my browser bigger. What is going on with this chart? I can't seem to figure it out. Okay, here we go. Now I've messed up my browser. Okay. So it was over collateralized by like 400 or 500%. Again, when March 12th hit, the ratio plummeted. That for a minute, it didn't, I don't think it went below. No, it didn't. But there was all kinds of chaos. Like some contracts actually didn't liquidate in time because pricing was too slow and gas fees were too high, and it was like pandemonium. Anyways, the lowest it got on this chart is like 250%. In other words, you have $2.25 of Ethereum backing $1 of DAI. So on one hand, I would think, geez, people are going to be less reluctant to hold DAI because it's this new risky smart contract. But it's really, if you're concerned, what's it backed by? This is really backed by something that we can monitor in real time that gets liquidated. And what if the shit really hits the fan and everything completely collapses? They can shut down the whole thing and give you your Ethereum. And it's like, well, then I don't have a dollar peg token. Now I'm stuck with Ethereum. But you know what? If that happened, you'd be stuck with Ethereum at the low, right? I'll take that Ethereum. So I like DAI peg token. I feel safe with it. But still, you want to be diversified when it comes to your dollars, because I don't know what the fuck's going on. And you got to have your finger on the trigger, because we may have to get out of it ASAP. I mean, we might not have to get out of it. It might be a nice, smooth, long turn and gradually reduce your dollars over time. But everything's so crazy right now that you got to have your finger on the trigger. Another metric I like to look at, and it's looking decent, is how much Ethereum is locked in smart contracts on Ethereum in general. This decentralized finance, trading, lending, whatever, all kinds of things going on, and locking up Ethereum. How much Ethereum is locked up? We want to see that growing. And, like everything else, on the 12th fell off a cliff, but it's come back nicely. Granted, it's sort of following the Fed's curve, right? So, I don't know. But keep in mind as well, when it comes to pricing, S&P broke through the December 2018 lows. Ethereum's low was, I think, 82. It never hit 80. I think the low we got to, what was the Ethereum low? Might have been, let's make a guess here. 20. Oops, that's not what I want to do. Oh, Stellar, we're going to talk about in a minute. What did I want to do? CoinMarketCap. All right. What was I saying? Oh, how low did you go? Let's see. Black Thursday. Ooh, I mean, I didn't even see this. Sometimes too, but keep in mind when the news says hits a low, it's like 10 seconds, but it looks like it hit about 100 for a second. And then over here, it was in the low hundreds. But it didn't hit 82. So what do you call that? 20%, 30% from its lows in December 2018. The stock market, S&P 500, broke through its lows. So that would have been the equivalent of this going through 82. So Ethereum looks good. I mean, listen, when people need dollars, they're not gonna, selling Ethereum is not the last thing on their list. So if the shit hits the fan, this thing is a risk asset. But, long term, I love it. And, seatbelts required. And no babies allowed. Stellar, I want to talk about just for a minute because, in 2017, Stellar was one of the few decentralized platforms that actually was up and running and has use cases. Still does. Working with IBM. Who knows? IBM's so fucking slow and There's no information, and maybe it's doing nothing. Maybe they're actually building volume. I don't know. They're working on a dollar peg token system with wallets that'll work through Latin America. Hey, maybe it'll be great. Maybe something happens. It's in the long run. This thing is for real. It's up and running. People are working on it. But nothing's really going viral yet. Also, talk about development and trying to get something going on Ethereum. There's a billion things going on with real momentum. So, Stellar may find its niche, but I like Ethereum better. But even more importantly, let's say Stellar does get something awesome going. They don't have a monetary policy that accrues value to the token. So let's say this was back, and we're gonna talk about Kyber in a minute. This is always my greatest fear, is this sort of, look at the chart, look at the chart, look at the chart. Oops. Right? Goes from up, 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 nothing. We just got a heartbeat here 2 weeks ago. I don't know why, and maybe something's going on, whatever. In fact, let's just look at something here. Nah, looks like it's nothing. But anyways, even if they have stuff going on, I don't know that the token gets any value. So the things I've liked about Stellar I still like, and maybe I'll be buying it again in 3 years. Just right now, I don't see, I'm not feeling it. So, sorry. If you said you were a long-term holder, I'll hold for 10 years. Okay, well, here we are. It ain't easy. But I'm not a trader, but I need to be in love with the stuff I hold. And listen, in 2018, I said increase your Bitcoin and less in your Stellar. So sorry, but I'm not in love with it anymore. Kyber. So now Kyber. Look at Kyber. I like it for a number of reasons, but just looking at its volume, this is over 3 years. It's been growing. I did a little sort of trying to figure out. It's hard to say, well, what is the volume? Because look at how volatile it goes up and down. But it looks like it's grown about 1,000% a year for the last 2 years, and it looks like this year is going to be another 1,000%. Well, that's a pretty good growth rate. And they're going to be paying a dividend on every trade. This volume that's going up 1,000%, they're going to be paying a dividend on, earning ETH on the trades. Looks really good to me. I want to do a video where I go more in depth on it. But at the same time, watch out for this. So, and when you look at Stellar and you want to run Kyber and you want to run numbers, what's your projection, right? This is Black Thursday, right? Another thing about Stellar, Kyber I really liked, Black Thursday, everything broke on March 12th. From the treasury market to the bond market to the stock market had circuit breakers, right? Every market fucked up. Kyber, no problems. No problems. It was amazing. This is the only, I'm sure there were a couple other places that didn't have problems, but I don't know about them. Everything was tested. Kyber was tested A+. I like that. And if you want things when the shit's hitting the fan, I don't know. Kyber looks like they can handle volume, and now they're doing an upgrade. So the platform's going to be even better, and you're going to be able to earn these dividends. But when you look at the valuation, well, what do we assume that they do in volume per day? Is it 27 million? Or is it 1 million? We got a volume difference of 27x over, a couple week period. So what is the run rate here? I ran some numbers. I was thinking, 100. I can do 100. I was 100,000 per hour. That seemed like a no-brainer. It wasn't under 100,000 for so long. Now we're back to 50. And what's this? It was 18. So it's very hard to value these things. And that's why I love Kyber. And I said, I think in my last thing about portfolio, this can be 10% of your portfolio, of your crypto portfolio, which can't be more than 10% of your overall portfolio, right? So we're talking very little here, but even that 10%, I get a little worried because it's not that Kyber doesn't look awesome today. It's that this shit is moving fast. I'm pretty confident I'm on top of it. And, there's so many other decentralized exchanges popping up, and someone could be stealing their volume, or maybe volume's low. I don't know. But you got to be on top of it. So I like it today, might not like it tomorrow. And look at what happened with Stellar. I loved it. I changed my mind. I tried saying it on videos, but everyone, are you going to never miss my video? And to be honest with you, if I don't like something, I got a priority. It's me trading it. It's not telling you first. No offense. Love you. And I try to make videos when I know what I've said, and if I change my mind, I want to get it out there. But if I'm, with my kids busy quarantining, I'm not going to make a video for you because I changed my mind. Right? So, you got to watch this stuff. Watch it closely. Zcash. Zcash has a chance to be money. Private money. The Swiss bank account. Zcash is the leading privacy token. It's being integrated onto all kinds of privacy options on top of Ethereum. So I think we're going to see privacy trading coming to Ethereum, and they're all going to integrate with Zcash. And Zcash, without getting too deep into it, there's a lot of demand for people to have a token that is really private. And Zcash looks to be the winner. And this is one of these things where, this whole debate, like, is it money? If you have a token and people say, oh, it's money, that means money, the definition of money I like, it's the bubble that never pops, right? It's up because everyone believes it's up, and it stays up because everyone believes it's going to hold its value, and it holds its value because everyone believes it's going to hold its value. Do you know what I mean? It's one of these, it's a little crazy, but that's what it is. And Zcash, and at the bottom line with Zcash is, great project, works close, I don't know if he's the founder, one of the leaders, Zooko, he is a founder, one of the leader guys, I think his name is Zoku, sorry, I can't remember how to pronounce. He's close with Vitalik Buterin, who's praised the project, which I think means something. And they've been, and the price is way off of its high, and I see a lot of more liquidity coming to Zcash because of the integration onto Ethereum. So, again, we're talking putting pennies in, but look at this chart. I like buying things. People are like, oh, I only want to buy it when it's going straight up. People love to buy here. Right? I don't. I like to buy here. That's great. And if you like ICOs, then you like to buy here. Right? Okay, another exciting development that is coming is we are going to see, here's a prediction. This is not what I like to do, where I usually make money, is when I tell you what's already happening that people don't know. Well, I can tell you what is happening, that a lot of projects are launching to bring Bitcoin onto Ethereum. And there already is some, but it's not. What we want is a trustless one-to-one backing. One Bitcoin equals one, Bitcoin token on Ethereum. And you trust, without any human intervention, that you can get your Bitcoin back, or a Bitcoin back. And there's a lot of different solutions launching to do this. So my prediction is that one of them is going to actually be user-friendly and trusted, and a lot of people are going to want to do this. This is the marriage made in heaven. And it's so like a marriage. Bitcoiners, they hate each other, they hate Ethereans, Ethereans hate Bitcoiners, and they're going to come together and have this wonderful marriage of hating each other and both, improving. Because Bitcoin has the market cap, and then we bring that market cap to DeFi, to the decentralized finance applications on Ethereum. Just to show you here. So right now, all the DeFi, and I'm saying DeFi, some of you might not know what DeFi is. It's an easy way to explain it. Well, trading, lending, and derivatives, instead of doing it on the legacy financial system, we're doing it on crypto networks. Crypto networks are faster, cheaper, more secure, easier to trust. There's a million reasons why it's an order of magnitude better. The more collateral, the more digital collateral we put into DeFi, the more things, the more trading, the more derivatives, the more lending and borrowing we can do. So right now, total value in Ethereum DeFi is, we were excited. It crossed $1 billion. Now we're back to 700 million. Bitcoin's market cap is what? 100 billion? Probably more. Let's see what it is right now. Bitcoin's market cap, 124 billion. If 1% of that comes to Ethereum into DeFi, that's 1.2 billion. So the activity on Ethereum, on DeFi, which is already blown up with activity, you bring in 1% of Bitcoin onto Ethereum, you're doubling the size of Ethereum, you're introducing a use case for Bitcoin. The big complaint against Bitcoin, it's got its market cap and all this. But you can't do anything with it, and you can only hold it on centralized exchanges. It's stuck. Bitcoin needs this. And Ethereum could use more liquidity. It's a marriage made in heaven. But I still like Ethereum better. I think if this happens, they both roll up together. But I think Ethereum outperforms. So I'm not big on owning Bitcoin right now. I think that... should I get into that? Anyways, did I finish my point? So there's multiple. Ren, though, is one that I like for one of these Bitcoin on Ethereum projects. Now, I say I like it. I'm breaking one of my rules. One of my rules is don't buy anything. Don't buy the dream. Buy the reality, right? So I don't like investing in tokens before they launch. I like it to launch. And not only does it work and is it decentralized, but are people using it? Is it working? And lots of people signing up when we see the adoption. Ren, testnet, but the main net launch should be soon, but it hasn't launched yet. And I'm already saying I like it because it seems simple. It's the only solution I've heard that just seems totally straightforward. I see a lot of press. There's one TBTC. And congrats to Matt Luongo. I can't remember how to pronounce his name. I follow him on Twitter. Boy, is he good at marketing. He's on every podcast, always talking about it. He really gets his name out there. But when I hear how his project's going to work, and again, I don't bet on making predictions. If TBTC launches and tons of people start using it and it's getting all kinds of liquidity on Ethereum, then I love it. Right? I don't need to predict. I'm going to wait and see what it does. But if I'm going to predict, when I heard how it works, it was very complicated. Is it going to work? Is it going to be easy enough? I don't know. Ren is like you go in, you take your Bitcoin, you put it here, you hit a button, creates an address, you send it there, and then you get an Ethereum token. And anytime you want, you can take that Ethereum token, go back, and put in the thing, and you get a Bitcoin back. And it's trustless. I love it. That's easy. I think that shit's gonna, we'll see if it works. But I think this is very exciting to watch. And there's so many different, I can't I'm not, like I said, I'm not in the business of predicting what's gonna work. And I don't like reading white papers and trying to predict whether it makes any sense. I'll wait till they launch. But I see a bunch saying they're launching soon. So, hey, maybe we get lucky. Finally, I bought a generator. And I say this because, when I called my parents or emailed my parents, my sister, and my brother in February and said bought a mask, I was like, I felt it was important, but I was like a little embarrassed and worried that I'm just being crazy. But I wasn't. And when I started buying, stocking up on pasta and rice, because I thought I might not want to run to the store, and who knows, there could be food issues. I felt a little crazy, but I was right. Now, when it comes to getting a generator, I don't really see power outages coming. I have no evidence of that. But at the same time, one big vulnerability I have is if I can't get on my computer, I can be locked out of money. I can be locked out of ordering on Amazon. If I have no power, that could be painful. So this is an insurance policy for $270, one-time payment, insurance policy against power outages. And nothing fancy. It's not going to turn on my refrigerator. I don't care about anything. I just want to be able to get my laptop and charge my phone. And I got a Tesla car. I can use that to, that's my thing. My thing, and it's paying off right now, is I want a floor. I want a solid floor. If I'm not on the top floor, I don't care. I just don't want a floor that you can fall through and break your leg. And so this I saw as a vulnerability, so I thought I'd get it. And that was today. That's it. That's all I had for my notes. I guess, I feel like I'm on a roll. One other thing I'm going to ramble about here a little bit is we need there. I think that, well, this is I'm being hopeful. There needs to be a change. Our leadership, our institutions are broken. There's a guy, Eric Weinstein. In fact, if you want to sort of understand it, listen to Eric Weinstein on Joe Rogan. He was on twice. He was just on. And at the end, it gets crazy, him talking about, taking Einstein's physics theory further. At the beginning, he talks about how the institutions have failed us. And then there was okay. The point I'm getting, see, this is what happens now that I'm not going off notes. I'm rambling. The point I want to make is, when is enough enough? When are we just going to say, we can't have morons in charge anymore? I think it's time, and not only that, it's just even things like the FDA with all these health regulations that aren't good. In fact, they're harmful. I feel like people we all need to band together and just say, we're going to ignore the FDA. And, can we just have a simple law that, yeah, if you fucking do something bad, you're going to get in trouble for it. But if you're just trying to fucking come up with a drug, or you have some mask that is good, that you're not an idiot and you want to sell it, just let people do stuff. The system we have has fucked up. The leaders are morons, and the laws are terrible, and the whole health system, it's terrible, and it's unfixable. Just let people do stuff. If I want to go online and say I want to help your health, let me do it. And if someone is dumb enough to pay a guy who, used to sell sex toys for a living for health things, that's their problem. But, and because I'm not going to do that. I'm not trying to become a doctor. Most people, but the other thing is, this is where the trend, I'm seeing the trend. They are reducing regulations for this. But not just for the COVID, now telemedicine is legal. Now doctors can practice across state lines. These are simple, basic things that should have been done decades ago, are getting done now, and affect healthcare. And I think people need to get in the mindset to run with it and just stop. Enough with the government. We got to get these idiots out of there. This next election, it can't be Trump against Biden. Are we going to get all back to the fake reality show? Can people really go back to that? Are we really going to have that debate of those two morons? Can you watch that after all this? And maybe you still think you can. I think we're not done yet. The rocks are still falling. The building's still falling. I don't know what's going to happen, but the hope we have, America was founded on individual ingenuity and freedom. China might be doing okay. They've got their way with their big dictatorship, whatever. Great. That's not America's way. That's not how we roll. That's not in our DNA. Our DNA, as Eric Weinstein says, the secret to America is the middle finger. Because we stand up and go, fuck you, I'm going to do this. So you can get fucking masks and sell them. Do it. Now masks is going to be oversupplied. Do not get in the mask business. I guarantee you there's going to be zero profit in masks within 2 weeks. But anyways. But in health, in the health realm or any of this shit regulated, just get out and start solving problems. And fuck the government and fuck the regulations. That's what Silicon Valley does. That's another thing. Silicon Valley's done a lot for this country and the world. And you know what their method is? Just go and do the right thing. And if the government starts breathing down your neck, you're good at saying, hey, sorry. And by then, you're so big, and if you need to deal with regulations, fine, whatever. Did Airbnb get permission to have a dwelling in New York City? No, they just went in and did it. Did they have permission from the taxi company? Did Uber have permission from taxi companies? No, they just did it. In healthcare, that's what we got to do. Stand up, get you, and I think there's opportunity right now because regulations have been changed. I mean, if you don't want to go totally rogue, I get it, and I'm not. Listen, I don't know what I'm talking. I'm out of my lane here, and I don't want to get in trouble. Hey, Dave told me to start selling needles on the corner. Listen, I'm just saying, if you feel like you have some knowledge or some distribution of some product of value, and the only thing holding you back is like, I don't know, the government rules, I don't even know what they are, and the regulations, and just, I think that stuff, I'm hopeful it's going away. If it ain't going away, I don't know. Are we going to be Venezuela? Or are we going to get back to being America? Because we've been on a path. Right now we're socialist. Government's taken over everything. And the only way we're going to get it back is with the middle finger. So get off your ass. Make a difference. Inspirational message. Thank you, and much love.